in it. They're not in Beachbody, so they just don't understand. So when I kind of figured that out, I think it makes me look at those people in my life and look at it from their point of view. One thing I wanted to say is it probably more than likely took you a while to see how great this is. So more than likely you watched your coach on social media for quite a while before you joined them. Okay, you saw them posting every day. You had multiple conversations with them. Maybe you told them no several times before you actually joined. So to think that when you become a coach that, let's talk spouse here. So to think that your spouse right off the bat is going to be supportive when they've never seen any of those posts, they are not having those conversations, doesn't really make sense. They're probably where you were before you were introduced to the opportunity. So I think that's a really good thing to remember. It took you a while to see this, to fall in love with this. There's some of us that, fell in love with it very quickly, but I don't think that's the vast majority of coaches. I think it took some time. So especially if you've said no to this so many times, like it's not going to be a flip of the switch for everybody else in your life. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to talk about spouses first. My spouse, I kind of just ran it past him, but I wasn't looking for is this okay if I can do this? I just was like, this is what I want to do. And he supported me in it, but it was just like, yeah, sure, sign up or whatever. But it wasn't like it was it was the super support that like I have now. But one thing I want to point out is, okay, most of our team is women. So men are more like concrete, tangible, rational, and women are more like dreams and feelings and emotions and vision. And so that's something that you really need to remember in your business is men want to see like the proof, basically. And women are like, this community is so amazing. I've made so many friendships. We have such different dynamics as men and women. So that's one thing I want you guys to keep in mind. And then there's probably a lot of common misconceptions that they have. So I'm just going to go over a couple of them. Only people at the top make money. More than likely, your spouse has thought this, or somebody in your family has thought this. I was actually over at my aunt's house a couple years ago, and we're having lunch, and I was talking about Beachbody, and I remember she said to me, "Isn't that a pyramid scheme?" And I was able to explain why it wasn't, and she believed me, which was great. But I think that's because I was able to explain why it's not. So I really encourage you to be knowledgeable about our business so that when you do get questions, you're going to be able to answer them. I was also at my aunt and uncle's house this past Christmas, and my cousin was there, and he said, we were talking about Shakeology because his sister, she had tried Shakeology, she has BOD, and he said, well, aren't multivitamins, like they're mostly synthetic and they're pretty like just useless. Your body doesn't need them. And I was able, because of my knowledge with Shakeology, to explain that it's not synthetic and exactly what Shakeology was. And I had that knowledge and that education to be able to give him a straightforward answer. And I think that your knowledge of this business is only going to help you answer those questions. Because if you're just kind of like, I don't know, your credibility is going to go down, basically. Okay. So only people at the top make money. Make sure you know how to address why this is not a pyramid scheme and why all the people at the top do not make money. Your spouse might hate that you have to ask people to join you. So they might think that like you're going to hit up all their friends, that you're going to be hitting up all of their family, that you're going to be this like super salesy, creepy person on social media. They are just afraid that you're going to make them feel uncomfortable. And I honestly understand that fear, because I think with most network marketing businesses, people do post really salesy stuff. They don't share their stories. Beachbody is so different. We don't do that. We see a lot of other companies that will post like a stock photo and say like, I have this, it's $60, message me to order it from me. You know, we don't do stuff like that. So keep that in mind. And your spouse is probably thinking, okay, great, how much is this going to cost me? Because there is a cost to, there is a cost to sign up, obviously. We all bought our challenge packs. But, with a lot of businesses, it can be thousands of dollars. And, maybe you and your spouse financially are in a tight spot. And it's awesome that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this coaching thing because I want to get out of that spot. But they might be thinking, well, what if you don't make any money and we're just spending this $100 and some every single month? So I think those are kind of the things that men typically are thinking about. And I kind of went over some of these with my husband too. I was like, is this kind of like the deal? Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I think a lot of people also think this is weird. Like with a network marketing company, you work on yourself, right? Like we all are taught to do personal development. You're becoming a better version of you. So you're working out, you're drinking Shakeology, you're following a meal plan, you are becoming stronger, happier, more confident. When you go to a regular job, that stuff typically does not matter. Okay. You go to a regular job and you work on your knowledge and your skill set, and that's it. And you're basically doing that so you can beef up your resume so that you can get a better job, right? That's kind of like the normal job that people know of. But in network marketing, it doesn't work like that. And in this business especially, it doesn't work like that. You have to become a better person to move your business forward. So it's completely different. And this business is built on relationships. So you do have to build a ton of relationships. You can't just have all this knowledge. You can't just do all the trainings and not implement it and think that that's going to move your business forward like it would at a normal job. And also at a normal job, you can show up the first day and you get paid the minute you walk in the door. You haven't even done anything yet. You clock in that 8-hour day. By the end of the day, you've already made X amount of money. My first 8 hours in this business, I don't know about you. I know about Julianne. I think we made $0 our first 8 hours in this business. We didn't make any money. Okay. I know Jules has said like her first paycheck was like $15 or something. Like mine was too. I think it was like $19.95. So this is completely different. And that was after we put effort into it. We had our challenge group set up. We had talked to a bunch of people. We'd gotten like a few people into a challenge group. Okay. So completely different. And so the fact that this business is weird compared to the norm, that's going to make it so hard for the rest of your family to understand what this is about. So I don't know. I just like to get into like their mind and kind of see, and like you have to relate to them and you have to understand what they're thinking so that you can be compassionate, but then you can also address those concerns. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. They might be stressed that more responsibility will fall on them. Okay. I think this is a big one because most of you probably get into this business. You're either a stay-at-home mom who works this business when your kids are napping or the kids go to sleep, and maybe that time used to be designated to hang out with your spouse, or you work full-time and you've just worked this full day, and you come home and then you need to do more work. And so now you're not able to take on as much responsibility at home. Now they're going to have to do more. Maybe you guys have kids and now you need your spouse to take the kids while you hop on these Zoom calls. And all they know is this is causing me to do more work. Okay. So that might be a worry of theirs. So one thing I would encourage you guys to do is I really think that like what you put out there, you get back. So what I mean by that is even if your spouse isn't being supportive, even if you're frankly just pissed off that they're not supporting this, you don't like them very much right now, what can you do to make their life easier so that it's going to come back to you, and when you need something, they're going to do it for you? So I'm going to give you kind of an example here. So my husband's been kind of stressed out about working on his PhD. And it just takes a lot of time of him like sitting down at the computer and writing and all of those things. And we sit down every Sunday, we go over our calendar. Okay, when do the kids have activities? When do I need to get on a Zoom call? All of those things. And we our work schedules, we go through all of that. And he looked at this week and he was like, oh my God, we have so much, like our kids have to go to the dentist this week. We just have like a bunch of extra stuff. I've got stuff I have to do before I go to Mexico. So we just it's like, this week is crazy. And I could tell he was like stressed out. And I knew I needed to get on the Zoom call, right? So last night, I brought the trash and recycling into the house. It's not even something I do. He always takes care of the outside stuff, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I meal prepped extra food for him. What else did I do? Oh, I got the license plate for my new car, and I had asked him to put it on my car. I just went out into the garage, grabbed a screwdriver, and just did it myself. Like, I was just like, what can I do so that he has less work to do, so that when I need something, he's like, absolutely, whatever you need. So I just think like speaking their love language, and my husband's is acts of service, is like one of the most powerful things you can do, even when you don't feel like doing it. I had a million ththings to do. I wanted to be on my computer messaging people. I just had other things I wanted to do. I definitely didn't want to do those things, and I just went out and did it because I knew it would help him. It would take the stress off of him, and now he's going to do that for me. So let's see what else. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, some tips for you. So my tips are, communication is key. So I really think like talking about this as it's like our business, and not like, oh, my Beachbody business this, my Beachbody business that. My husband does not work this business at all. He does the workouts and he drinks Shakeology, Energize, Recover, all those things, but he's never sold a challenge pack. He doesn't do those things, but he understands this business. And that's because we've had so many conversations about it, where I've explained what volume means. I've explained what the different ranks are. I really try to play to his strengths. He's really good with numbers. So I can have him sit down and look at the volume and just be like, okay, how much does my volume need to be to make this much per week? Those types of things. So if you can communicate those things to them so that they truly understand it, you're going to get less pushback, because one, they're going to understand the business, and two, they're going to feel like they're useful and helpful for you. Get them involved. So this can be a hard one, especially if your spouse does not like to work out, doesn't want to drink Shakeology. I just think you need to lead by example. In my house, like, everybody knows I'm going to get my workout done without fail 6 days a week. It's just, my kids will, even if they don't see me getting my workout in, they'll ask about it. Like, it's just expected. And so I think leading by example is one of the most powerful things you can do, is just, even if they're not joining you, like, just go get it done every day and let them see you. And I guarantee when they start seeing you do it every single day for years on end, like, they're going to get one, you're not letting this go. And they're going to be a lot more inclined to join you. Make your shake in front of them. Drink your supplements in front of them. All of those things, just lead by example. I think you need to, one of the vital behaviors is be proof the product works for a reason. So you need to show them, if you're saying to your spouse, like, I'm doing this because I have this goal, health-wise, then you need to do that. Like, you need to follow the meal plan. You need to do the workouts. You need to drink your shake, because you've told them that that's what you're going to do. So now you need to follow through. And that's the same thing for the people watching us on social media, is you have to have that follow through. Okay. If you're going to invest money in this, take it seriously. So if you're telling them, like, I'm investing this much money in my business because I'm going to get X, Y, and Z out of it, you have to show them that. Like, you can't just say that, because then it's just all talk. They want to see the results. So you definitely have to show those results. You have to take it serious. You can't say, I have a business, and then, like, you're not doing it and nothing's happening. Okay. So your word is powerful. You have to have the action behind it. If you're spending time away from your family, make sure it's worth it. you know, so right now I'm not with my kids, obviously. So just make sure that that time is going to be worth it. And I mean, it's okay to be away from your family, but if you're away from them and they don't see where there's any benefit there, that's going to be hard to get them on board. Let's see here. Okay, so kind of getting away from the whole spouse thing. So I don't want you guys to think that like my entire extended family is like into this. My father-in-law was over here, I think it was Easter, this past Easter, and he told me making a shake takes too much time. And I was like, I definitely gave him like the eye roll look, like that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And he flat out knows, like, it's just not all that important to him. So anyways, but he's super supportive. Like, he'll share some of my posts on social media and he'll just be like, I think it's awesome what my daughter-in-law is doing. She's so happy. So I think like that's a definite change that I've seen in Aaron's parents, is they realize like I have so many friends around me. I've gotten to travel. I'm making good income. I'm just happier in general. And so that's gotten them from being like skeptical. We had a family member who used to jump from like MLM to MLM. She's done like a ton of them. She would just never stick with anything. So when I joined, I think they were just like, oh gosh, like, where's this going to go? And I've stayed in this for 4 years and I've been successful in it. And so now they're just like they get it, you know? So it's just that consistency of showing up and not quitting and getting results. Those are the best things that you can do. Okay, what else? Okay, I'm going to talk about my mom. So a lot of you guys have probably seen me share my mom's transformation photo, which is freaking awesome because she's turning 57 later this month and she has abs and she's in awesome shape and she's about to finish 80-day obsession with me. She has not skipped a workout. She's been doing the time nutrition, drinking Shakeology, drinking Energize, Recover, like she's rocking it. But for the first couple of years of my business, I would say like 2.5 years in, she didn't do any of this. Like she would ask me about it and it was just like, how do you stay so skinny? And I don't believe you actually eat and stuff like that. But I just kept doing it and I just kept doing it. And finally she would get on board with like one little part of it. So first she started drinking Shakeology, which was awesome, but that's like the only thing that she was doing. And then finally, I just invited her over for a workout one day. I was like, come in my gym and let's do a workout. And literally my mom had never lifted weights ever. And so we went through Body Beast and I remember I would like every single move. She's watching the video, but I'm literally having to help her with form on like every single move. And so the fact that we've gotten from that to like she's in her own house and she has she bought all the same equipment that I have. She has the bench I have. She has the weights I have. Like she bought all that stuff. And she's like rocking 80-day obsession and doesn't need me anymore is like insane. But that took like probably over 2 years. Like that's what's crazy about it. So it's just like remembering this does not happen overnight. It absolutely does not. And I think that's hard because patience is usually the thing that people struggle with the most. But I don't know. I just kept doing program after program and showing what, you know, my results on social media. And finally I was like, Mom, like, let's do this. Like when 80-day came out, I was like, Mom, I promise you, if you do this the way it is written, you're going to get awesome results. And she was so frustrating because she loves the scale. And I was like, get off the freaking scale. I'm going to throw it out the window. And I made her take pictures. I would literally call her and be like, send me your pictures right now. Send me your pictures right now, like every single week. And now she takes them all the time without me asking. So it's awesome, the change that is going on. And now my mom's actually coaching. She's at Success Club 2 and she's halfway to Emerald, which is like crazy. Yeah, so thank you. Anyways, so that's my mom. That being said, her husband is not on board with like any of this. So there's like ebbs and flows with different people. You know, obviously Aaron loves the workouts and stuff. He's not a gym person. But okay, so my cousins. So a couple different things I've done with cousins. So what I would recommend is if you like get them around other coaches. So I had Morgan and Julianne and Mariah Mariah lives here, but everybody was in town here. And I knew that my cousin Kelly was here. And I was like, hey, we're going hiking. And I texted her, I was like, hey, do you want to go hiking Sunday morning? And she was like, yeah, sounds like fun. So now she's surrounded by all of us coaches, and she went out to brunch with us after hiking. And it definitely got her more on board with this because I was surrounding her with this community, and she got to see how real it was. So my cousin's in PA school, and she's not doing Shakeology right now because she has zero income, but she's doing bad. And she's in my challenge groups, and she's doing great. And that's been awesome to see. And I really think when she graduates school, she's going to become a coach. Like, I really think and she's asked me about coaching. Like, I just know it's a matter of time. So that's been awesome. And I mean, that's 3.5 years of watching me. It's just that consistency. And I know it sounds so boring, and I've said it like 10 times, but that's seriously what it is. And then I have a couple other cousins that are in my challenge groups as well, that are, they bought their challenge pack and they're rocking it. And what's awesome, I think too, is like some of these are cousins that I don't really talk to very much, but this has like connected us again to where now like we're texting and we have like a better relationship. And I feel like honestly, since I joined Beachbody, my relationships with everybody are so much better. With my extended family, it's awesome. And I just think like when you're putting those positive vibes out, like that just comes back to you tenfold. So a couple of my cousins I have a bunch of cousins in my groups. And then, so my mom went on vacation last summer. And this was when she was doing the workouts, but she wasn't really down with the nutrition. So she'd gotten results, but not great results like she's gotten now. Well, I told her when she went on vacation with my aunt that she had to do it while she's on vacation. So she was doing it with my aunt. And then my aunt came into town like a few months ago, and she was like, I want to ask you about PIO. It's so funny. So I just think it's like exposure. You know, if you can expose people to things, then her daughter, my cousin, if you can like follow this, who's in my groups, she was like, they were all together visiting like another family member, and she was asking me about like sticking to everything while traveling. And I was like, you need to have your mom do it. She worked out with my mom on vacation. Like, do your workouts with your mom. So it's just like encouraging those behaviors. And then my cousin Kelly that I was talking about hiking, like I had her do it with her mom as well. So I don't know. I just encourage like family, like if one person in your family is doing it, like who can they expose it to without being pushy? Like literally it's just like, hey, I'm going to do this workout and do it with me. That's it. You know, it's not pushy. It's not pushy at all. So I think that's really helpful. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, Erin's cousin just came to me a month ago or so, and she ordered a challenge pack last month, and she's been overweight like her entire life. And she is about to graduate high school, and I'm really excited because I've been wanting to help her, but didn't want to step on toes and didn't want to be like, hey, like I know you struggle with this, let me help you. Like I just knew if I showed up, like it would happen. So she came to me, and she's doing great. Like she just sent me her before photos. She's doing clean week right now. She's drinking Shakeology. And what's really cool is Erin's parents called me yesterday, and they said, we know Janelle's going to college. She's not, like, she might have a job, she might not. We're going to help her pay for the Shakeology because we want her to be successful with you. And I think that the reason that they know, like, I'm going to help her be successful is because they've been watching me for 4 years, and they've seen what this has done, and they've seen that it's legit. And it's just, again, years every single day, posting on my social media and getting great results. So if you're not getting results because maybe you're not following the meal plan, that's probably one of the first things that I would start with is you gotta follow the nutrition so that you are getting the results. Because if you're just doing the workouts, the results are going to be really minimal. And that's why, like, I really don't let people into my challenge groups that just do bod unless it is like a college student family member or something, or some unique situation, I pretty much require a challenge pack, is because they're looking at my results with this and they're wanting that for themselves, but they're going to do half of what I'm doing. That doesn't make any sense. So I do require a challenge pack to be in my groups. Okay. What questions do you guys have?
I have been going through it, and more like your content is just freaking gold. And like, it's just really exciting to hear you talk about this because, you know, Sara had a lot of, do you remember like 4 years ago how hard it was for you to post your story? And I remember we would just like work through it, and it's just really cool to see how confident you are talking about this because Sara, you guys she knows what she's talking about because this is something that she's walked, and it's been really cool to like hear her say all of this. We were definitely talking about pyramid schemes. I think I handled it of just like what is a pyramid scheme and what that means. And I answered it in the sense of like, a pyramid scheme is where you have 0 products and you're just signing up people and only making money that way, where we don't get a cut from anyone's check. It's like a different way, right? Like we get paid that way. What are some ways, I know you kind of talked about this, that someone could talk about or answer right away? If someone says like, oh yeah, that's a pyramid scheme, right? Like what is a good way you could answer that person?
Well, I like that you said like, what is a pyramid scheme? Because I've asked people that, and usually the response I get back is they'll just name a different network marketing company. Oh, like that thing. Like that's not an answer, right? So what I've learned from that is people don't actually know what that means. It's just that thing they've heard, right? So I think that's a good thing to say. But typically what I say is the same thing, that a pyramid scheme is where there's no product involved. You just make money by signing people up. Well, I can tell you from being in this business for the past 4 years, you can't just sign people up and not make anyone successful and think that you're going to make a ton of money. It doesn't work that way. You won't. You have to duplicate success in your downline in order for your check to grow. So there's that. But I also explain like, what's really cool is you could be more successful or less successful than anybody else in this business. And, you know, so I have coaches that signed up with me when I first started and have literally done nothing with this. So what, their check's $0, or maybe they're doing very little. So they're getting like a $20 check here or there or whatever. And then I have coaches that I signed up 2 years into this that are like making good income, right? So that just goes to show that it's not like who's at the top makes the most money. And then just kind of giving them like an example, like, you're probably thinking like that person at the top makes the most money. Well, if you take any sort of regular business, let's take like Target, for example. I always think of this because I'm at Target all the time. But you've got the CEO at the top. He makes the most money, and no matter what, he will make the most money. No one is going to make more than him. And then you have, you know, maybe like the president, vice president underneath, and then you have like, I don't even know, like the regional managers, and then the managers, and then you have like the cashiers down at the bottom, and they are the lowest paid people. That to me is a pyramid scheme model, is no matter how hard they work at that one job, like they're not going to move up unless they get promoted, right? So I don't know.
I was just at AT&T, and the guy that was sitting there, he's a sales rep. And the more I'm more aware of this, like if someone's like, hey, what do you do? And I go right away, I'm like, I'm in direct selling. I like say it so confidently. I don't even say Beachbody. I just say direct selling. And then I go in to talk about it. And I'm so proud of it because of what I stand for and who I stand with. Does that make sense? Like this makes me proud, and I don't have to defend that to anyone who doesn't get it, right? But the sales rep said, we were like, oh, like, where I was like, you ask him questions like, what do you love most about your job? And he said, well, I know it all and it's easy. And I was like, oh, can't be that kind. Like people want to be creative, right? And he's like, honestly, I'm just here because of seniority. And so me being the person that I am was just like, well, what do you mean by that? Like you're waiting for a bonus or what? And he really couldn't answer. And all he was saying was that, and then Eric's like, oh, are you a manager of the sales team? He's like, no, I actually make more money than them. And so people who have a different position that is higher up, he's making more money off of commission because he gets referrals of people coming in and wanting to work with him at the AT&T store. And so whether you work at Target, you're working in sales, you're selling the brands at Target, right? Whether you are a lawyer, you are selling something, the judge to try to win that case, right? If like, depending on what it is, you're always selling. So why not sell something that will change your entire life, but also change your entire income, because it's not at a set income. If that makes sense. I think when we start to really realize like what we're a part of and what can happen and manifest into, it's really crazy. On a side note, there's no questions yet, Sarah, so that's why I'm kind of just like chiming in, is Dave Hollis, Rachel Hollis's husband, said that this like hit me like a ton of bricks that I had to share with you guys. Is she went to a seminar and came back a changed person, and he was annoyed. So maybe you can relate to this, is when you're waking up in the morning, your husband grunts or makes comments, or you just feel like you have to be the quietest person ever to get that done, or you feel kind of guilty about it, right? That was him a couple of years ago. And Rachel still kept getting up. She kept getting up, and he was so annoyed. And she asked him this question. And she said this, and I think that this is important for all of us, actually, whether you have a spouse or not, is how can you speak in a way the person you're speaking to will hear it? So if I were to speak to Eric and then speak to Sarah, I might say it in a different way so that they hear it, right? So she said she had thought about that, and she's like, how I'm growing and he's not. You either grow or you die. That's what Dave said. And so Rachel's thinking like, how do I approach this? Because I'm growing and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to work out. I'm going to continue to listen to personal development. It's kind of like coaching, right? I'm going to continue to build my dreams, but my husband is not growing with me. And so she went to him and she said, 7 months from now, do you think we're going to be as close as we are right now? Or do you think we're going to be farther apart? And that was a reality check for him, in the way that he had to hear that, to where he decided to make a change, and he went to go to Tony Robbins, and it changed and transformed his whole life. And I just thought that that was a really great way of like asking that, like, do you see us being closer in 7 months from now, right? And that was a good gut check for him. Sarah, do you address skepticism like objections in the form of posts?
That's like my favorite thing to do. Yeah, like objections. Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to some of Mariah's coaches about this, for asking me questions about it, and I like screenshotted a bunch of posts that I had done and shared it with them, and I was like, yeah, I was going through my Instagram to find them, and I was like, wow, I do a lot of posts that are to fight objections, or like things I hear that people just don't understand about this business. And I actually saw there was like a top coach. I only follow like a couple, but I saw one posted something like, there's like a picture of her on the beach, and she said, a family member asked me if this is a pyramid scheme. And I was like, what? I'm going to the beach. And it was just like really funny. It made me laugh, but I love, like, I think that, yeah, like you do have, like, people they can't get on board with wishy-washy. Like, if you're just like, you have to be so direct in your posts, and you have to, like, if you're just like, yeah, I kind of sort of believe in this, like, I'm kind of sort of doing this thing, like, nobody's going to jump on board, and you're probably going to get more objections, and you're probably going to get more like ridiculous objections. You know what I mean? But if you are like really headstrong in your posts and you speak with a lot of conviction, you're going to get less of that for sure. So I love posting about objections, like I'm too busy, like it's too expensive, like all of those things. And if somebody did message me and said like, oh, is this a pyramid scheme? My next post on social media is probably going to be like something about this being a pyramid scheme and how that's silly. Like, I just take those conversations and I'm essentially calling that person out without saying their name. Like, nobody's going to know you're calling that person out. But that's essentially what I'm doing. And I'm not doing it in like a hateful way. I'm just doing it in a like, okay, if people are thinking this, I need to educate them. So yeah, I really like to do that.
Everyone's saying, love it. She crushes it. Her posts are clear and direct and simple. Everyone loves your posts. That's so awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely a wonderful way. What about this for someone, which honestly, like I think a lot of other people on this call can identify with this, is I cannot get past the price objection when talking to people no matter what. And before you answer that, you guys, if you have the mentality that there's no way you can get around it, you're not going to. You have to change your approach and stop saying that it's not working when you're only using one approach or two approaches or three approaches. You got to go 4, 5, 6, 7 and change it. So Sara, let's talk.
Or like, do you think it's expensive?
That's awesome.
I really think like especially like a newer coach, and if you're more seasoned on this call, you probably don't think that way. But like a newer coach, a lot of times people do get into this and they're like, okay, I'm gonna work the business. They haven't gotten to the point where they truly believe in everything this company stands for. They don't truly believe in the products. And so they're asking people to get into their challenge group, but they're not completely sold on this. And they are thinking this is an extra cost that is coming out every month. I've never thought that way. I'm like, okay, like I'm going to pay for fitness because that's super important to me. I'm going to pay for nutrition because that's super important to me. I've never thought that way. And so I guess that's my first question is like, do you think it's expensive? Because I think it's like super cheap and it like saves people money. And I think like being sick and unhealthy is going to cost you way, way more. And I see that every day at work when I'm working with patients that, holy heck, I worked with a guy today that had a stroke, 2 amputated legs, smoking, has like barely any trunk control sitting up, like super, super sick, can't use the whole right side of his body. Like if there's a sickness out there, like he had it, I swear, like that's going to cost you so much more than the work that we are putting in with our workouts and nutrition.
And just really knowing the value. When Sara and I started, we paid for DVDs. So your challenge pack, if you guys started with the all access, is probably $160. We paid for a challenge pack that was $140 and one workout. And then when we were done with that workout, we would buy another workout, and that was probably $70, $80. And then we'd buy another workout, which insanity, those ones were about $160 without Shakeology. And so when Sara and I first started, like that's where we came from in this. And so when we look at Beachbody On Demand, you guys, you got to know it's over 700 workouts, nutrition plans. Like you have to like understand the value of it. The more you study Shakeology, without them compromising, you got to go listen to Darren O'Lean. And Sara and I had the pleasure.
Inside Shakeology would be an awesome podcast. Yeah.
But when you start to see, and like Sara, do you remember that at NLC, like how, I think that was my favorite presentation was Darren O'Lean. Once you know the value of Shakeology and how they don't compromise making it, you literally, like your jaw drops, because a lot of artificial sweetener companies wanted to come to Beachbody and help cheapen Shakeology and sell it cheaper to sell more of it. And they said no and put themselves at a higher cost making it because it's expensive to make, but they sell it for cheap and it isn't compromised when making it. Like, it's just like when you start to learn this stuff, you're literally like, this is not expensive. It should be. That's my opinion. It should be more expensive.
I would love it if, like, after we get off this Zoom, if everybody would go do a post about some sort of objection that's just like handle it and make it like straight to the point. Like, I think that would be awesome to see.
What about someone who's nervous to join? I don't think there's any risk in this. And that's what I would probably say to them. But I'm like, what risk? You're not going to die. Like, you're only
like nervous about what? What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst? Like, that's a good question to ask them is, what is the biggest risk for you to join? And that was on a national wake-up call. She said that. She goes, every Monday, you guys, you got to listen to these calls. They've been gold. They've been so good. She literally just goes, hey, the objection one, who was that? Was that Chelsea? I think it was the one where the graphic. She literally goes, like, after she you guys gotta listen to that call, because she talks about objections and talks about people who are not wanting to join. But one of the questions she asked them is like, what do you see as the biggest risk by doing this? Like, what are you losing by doing this? And just kind of being direct to them. And I think being confident and not wishy-washy and walking around people. When Sara messages people, she'll like send me a message and says, "Is this too blunt?" she just is like, she just says it what it is. It's like when you're talking to someone, she's not wishy-washy. I'm not either. When I'm talking to someone, I know this is the total solution. I know that this is going to change their life. And I know everything up until this point has not worked for them. And I will say that.
And I think like Instagram stories is like, or live on Facebook is like the perfect place to talk about these things, because like you need to speak on video about this stuff too. And just people are going to see that conviction in a way that isn't always going to come across in just like a post where people can't hear your voice. So, I mean, if you're going to talk about coaching, like maybe just say that on your Instagram stories. Be like, some of you guys have been interested in this. You have failed to commit. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you do this? Like, oh, you're going to get healthier? Yeah, that's horrible. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like being that blunt.
Seriously, which is so good. And I think this also goes to show too, is Sara shows up every single day for herself first and foremost, and then shows up for that one person who needs her and needs to hear her messaging. And so I just think you guys need to realize, like, people can never have enough confidence and enough health, enough joy, enough blessings, enough community. That's number one thing women crave is community. And Sara always says she never had girlfriends growing up until Beachbody. And so community was a big thing for her. And so like, what do you think your people need? Like they need more what? Energy, sleep, confidence, more patience being a mom? Do they need a healthier marriage? What do they need? And it all starts with your story. Sara, you're amazing. And you just always drop knowledge bombs forever, always.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love that it's freaking hot up here. Oh my gosh. I live in Arizona and my car said it was 100 degrees today and I'm upstairs and I don't think the AC is on. Oh, so I'm like insanely hot. Even though I love the heat. Yeah, I don't know. I love this business and there's no way I could ever stop doing this. Love it, love it, love